Hey guys, well, today's show, we have a lot to talk about, a lot. So I'm not going to spend much time here. But guess what? Here's what we're going to talk about at our mentorship moments, each one teach one. We're going to talk about mental health, hot button issues, everything from the Olympians. You know what I'm talking about, good or bad, the ugly. Let's talk about it. We're going to talk about officer suicide. We're going to remember some fallen officers. And we're also going to talk about COVID concerns. All of this is causing some major stress. We are once again in this kaboom phase, and we need to get it out and survive. And guess what? I brought the backup. This is Mentorship Moments. Each one teach one. We are the village.
Sometimes you just gotta make it happen. Gonna make it happen. Gonna make it happen. Just make it happen. Just make it happen. Just make it happen.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Mentorship Moments. Each one teach one. Listen, I can't wait to get to the topic today. This is real, man. I'm going through it. I have to have a mental health moment, right? So I'm just going to tell you the background. I'm on Facebook, and I made a comment about the Olympian Simone Biles. And it wasn't from a place of judgment. It was from a place of trying to understand. And I'm Team Simone all the way, and I support her decision. But I internalized things. I looked at it from a place of, how was my generation raised to deal with it? And I want to talk about that, all right? So no stone unturned. This is not a judgment show, but man, I need to hear how y'all was raised, how y'all grew up. And, my dad, my story started of evolution started in my book. I actually talk about how my dad kept me from leaving the pitcher's mound. And he threatened me and made me get back out there and pitch. And I was going through it mentally. I pitched the ball and I was successful. Long story short, I got through it and it changed my life. It caused a grit. But something's different now. And I don't know whether to appreciate. I'm stuck. And I need all of your help from all generations to help me with that. My first guest I want to introduce is the love of my life. And we'll bring on our backup in a second. But, she was like, yeah, Cleon, I'll go with you today and I'll just sit in the audience and whatever, whatnot. But then she sent me an article on some COVID stuff and got all fired up. And was like, nah, I need to sit down and be right here with you, CJ. Well, she didn't say it quite like that. She speaks in correct languages. She's from Canada, y'all, and that's what I love about her. But she did dress in army fatigue, so I don't know what that means. But here she is.
Hello, everyone.
Y'all,
yes, I'm here to represent. Yes, my daughters are like, Mom, you've got to go and help your dad out, balance him out. So I'm here to represent.
Well, thank you, daughters, because I need it, because I feel very passionate, and I am a little bit angry today. And if that comes out, she's here to save my job, because I serve the public by day, and people are still watching. So I'm gonna try to calm my anger and get through this, babe. You got me? Hold my hand.
I got you.
Hold my hand.
You. Yes.
Oh, okay. I feel the calm. Now, before I get into my guest, I have to talk about our sponsors, and then I do want to pay respect to the fallen. And it's important because it is also a part of where I'm at here mental health wise, okay? So bear with me. Now, listen, I want to mention it a few times, even real quick.
Yes.
When we get in the show, they need a number to call, right? Because I think this is pretty interesting, right?
Absolutely. Some hot topics today. So if you're ready to call in, area code 323-815-4204. Again, area code 323-815-4204. We want to hear your thoughts. Call in.
Man, and we'll talk about how to sponsor the show later. But speaking of sponsors, I want to talk to you about the best sponsor. And forgive me, Elitas Carter, I forgot my cowboy hat. But I'll metaphorically put it on and say, yee-haw to Mutual Realty Consultants, a five-star company. Now, they can be reached at 213-804-3369. Let me tell you, Elitas is so humble. She just sold another one. And right? She said, don't tell them how much, CJ. Just don't tell them. She goes, and the reason why I won't come on the show, CJ, is not because I'm not shy. I need people to speak for me. And I'm speaking for her. This woman is badass. That's legal. She's badass. Elitas Carter, Mutual Realty Consultants. It's a 5-star company. You know, shouts out to Yolitas. We talked yesterday, and she sent her condolences out, and we'll bring those out. It was a great conversation. You know, that says a lot about a person as a human being to just call me, not only as a sponsor, but as a human being. Guys, hey, when you need a certified probate and trust real estate specialist, y'all know who to call. Yeah, Yolitas Carter. All right, here we go. All right, hey, we're talking about COVID, right? We're going to talk a little bit about today as it regards to mental health. But there's an avenue for you, my community, where you can have trusted doctors give you insight that you normally wouldn't get from your regular doctor, right? Right here in Los Angeles, right? We've got a bunch of African-American doctors from all over the country pleading with everybody. And their last 5 or 6 discussions every Sunday has been about COVID. This is the Black Health Trust. You know, go ahead and put their faces on the screen. These beautiful people, along with Dr. Cutter, who also has a show right here in Morris Media Studios, they are here to tell you the truth. Now, if you can't trust them and their facts, I don't know what to tell you, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Every Sunday, please just Google the Black Health Trust. Go on there every Sunday, and they've been talking about COVID for weeks. I need you all to be informed. Eva, you feel my passion is coming, right?
Yes.
All right, let me slow down a little bit. Now, all right, special shout out to my nephew and musical artist, Zay, with his new album. I am excited. I played a little bit of it a couple of weeks, about a month ago, but he's got a new single out. It's called Feeling Good. Guys, I'm going to let you get a quick sample, and then you guys I'll show you how to get it on your own. All right, here it is, Zay's new single. Let's play it a little bit.
Glad you arrived. So glad. It's perfect time. Rich off your love. So rich of your love. So rich of your feeling like riding. No, know that you got me really feeling you. Visually impressed by your mind and your physical. Let me not forget about your heart and your spiritual. Baby girl, I know that you know that I'm into you. I wanna be your lover. Promise to be no other. You made me want us together. Falling for my forever.
All right. Hey, listen, iTunes, I believe it's on Spotify. Hey, YouTube, click on the video. I mean, look up X.A.E. Man, just look it up. A song Feeling Good, and then some. This kid is blowing up. I'm very proud of him. I know the volume was low, but so I need to make sure our sponsors are taken care of, okay? I can do it again, and even better.
Yes.
You know, Mutual Realty Consultants, a 5-star company. When you need a certified probate and trust real estate specialist, call Yolitas Carter. She's amazing, y'all. She just sold another one. I'm repeating myself for those that heard it again, but I want to make sure our sponsors are taken care of. All right, now let's get serious for a minute here. Oh, well, real quick. Well, this is serious. Oh, my God. Happy birthday to our baby girl, Zaire, who's turned how old?
17.
12. Right? 12, right?
Yeah, kind of.
12 forever.
We wish she was, but no, she's growing up. Teenager.
God bless you. We celebrated easy. I appreciate that about her. But boy, some of those things she bought was pretty expensive. Anyway, shouts out to my work buddy, Justin. You know, had a birthday. Shout out to you, my brother. Great job. And now we're going to get really, really serious here. I want to put a very special person up on the screen. This person was a friend of mine. Back in the day, she was my workout partner. We were in bench press competitions together. She was a client for a minute. But all throughout her career, which is over 30 now, she was a friend to me. She was like a big sister to me. And I want to give shouts out to Officer Becky Strong. Becky Strong, you have been an inspiration to me. You have been a big sister to me. I love you because your soul is still out and I'm just resting with the Lord. But you need to know, Becky V. Strong, I love you. You did your thing. You were one of the best to ever do it, hands down. God bless you. I love you. Rest in God's arm. Well deserved. I know it's tough. It's hard for me to kind of swallow it right now. But you know what? The best thing she would want for me is to be professional. And I love you, sis. And God bless you, man. You were one of the best to ever do it. God bless you. Shouts out also in memorial to the D.C. officer, Officer Brian Sicknick, who was killed as a result of the events at the Capitol riot in D.C. I am getting angry as we speak right now because this really, again, I'm mad on two sides. You know, I'm mad at our Republican Party. I'm upset at our Democratic Party. And if I get a moment to do it, I'm trying to calm down so I can say it the right way. Shame on you guys. Shame on you guys. Brian Signett was doing his job, and I'm talking to officers, and then people in general who take a political side and deny that this happened. Well, I'm going to say his name. Officer Brian Signett, rest in peace. You did your job protecting the people who hated you. Okay, God bless you. God bless you to DC Officer Jeffrey Smith and Howard Lanewood, who recently have lost their life due to suicide. And that's why we're talking about mental health in all facets. God bless you for what I have no idea why you did what you did. You survived that moment protecting people that hated you, people that are now throwing you under the bus, and then people that may be throwing fake support at you right now. But I'm telling you, I love you. You did your job. Matt, rest well. I don't know how that goes, but rest well, okay? Guys, if you have questions about our show today, you can ask on Facebook Live right here. My wife, Eva, will be checking it out, or you can on YouTube, and we'll be getting your questions there. And, man, Eva, one more time for the number before we get into it.
And one more time for the number. Again, area code 323-815-4204. Write it down. Yep. 323-815-4204.
Now, without further ado, I want to introduce the backup because I'm getting angry, right? And I do need a little help, okay? And I think we all do. You all, if you've been following this show, you know she's been on before and she's killed it every time. And again, this is the perfect time right now with all that is happening to talk about mental health. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, to all the members in the audience, that's my wife, the poetess, and the two cats. Round of applause for Dr. Natacha Nelson.
Welcome. Hello, Dr.
Hey,
Nelson.
Doctor.
Hi. So nice to be here with you tonight.
Well, I want to make mention before we get too deep is, her company is called The Dancing Zebra. It was Inside Out, but, she elevated. She also wrote a book. We're going to definitely promote that. You thought I forgot about that. No, but I got it. I got it right here. And I want to give that website out right now. Guys, you're going to need it, right? www.adancingzebra.com. www.adancingzebra.com. Trust me, this woman is the truth. We keep it real with each other. We have fights with each other, but it's amazing how our family bond has been closer over the year. We've done community engagements together. She's just an incredible woman, and we won't let you down here today. We're talking about mental health, and some of these conversations are going to be tough. So first of all, she is also the author of Finding the Courage to Let You Out. You can get that on Amazon, and we'll have that book posted up in a minute for everybody to see. For our first topic, this is even perfect because she was a former professional volleyball player and who killed it out there. And so I know she understands what it means to be mentally tough, and I've played a little sports, and you played a little track too. You still got them little track hits.
Everything,
yes.
Yes.
That's too much. That's X-rated. Too much. And she talks mostly of spiritual wellness. So, Doctor, let's bring it on back up. Doctor, I know I kind of laid you out a little bit, but I want to dive right into it. You know how we got you here and how this conversation started. And there's a lot of opinions on the specifically towards the Olympic gymnast Simone Biles and how she, basically stopped the competition due to mental health reasons. Now, initially, a few days prior when this thing started, there were a lot of questions. I questioned. I didn't judge. I just questioned why, and I was thinking all kind of things, not from a place of judgment, but wow. And here's in my mind, leader. Been there, done that. Was she afraid to lose? Again, not judgment, just thoughts that were running through my head. Fear of failure. In your mind, from your perspective as an athlete, and what do you think happened? And as a spiritual wellness coach, a mental health coach.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you, CJ. I appreciate the time and opportunity to be here to speak with you. I love being with you and Eva. So, when the news first broke out last, I want to say it was Wednesday, and the only thing that I'd heard and how it started was, Simone Biles quit the competition. She walked out on her team. And originally, my first thought was, you mean she quit? Like, what do you mean she quit? Like, you can't quit. Who quits? Just because it's hard? Just because she failed? And then as more information came out, then I had more time to really think about it and put a lot of thought, because I have a 12-year-old daughter who is a competitive athlete. And I thought to myself, how do I want to talk to her about this? What would I want to say? And I started to, then that came out with she needed to step away from mental health issues. But then she said she was going to compete, not for the team, but an individual, which, it wasn't the most graceful of announcements, I guess, which I think is part of what made this so fascinating. Because I think the lack of her ability to, like clarity, just like, I think so much of where we are as a nation is tired of being misled and a lot of untruth. So we're not really sure what's true or not anymore. So I think the way Simone Biles handled it, whatever happened in that moment, it was perceived in different ways. But going back to how would I want to talk to my daughter about it? Because at first I'm like, oh, quitting. All right, well, I don't know about this, But from a mental health perspective, I had to step back and say, somebody who's trained that hard for that long at that level, she didn't just quit that moment. Like, you don't go through life, and we don't even have to be that kind of athlete, but we don't go through life where everything is fine. We're training 20 years worth. Everything's fine. Then one moment, just go, I'm done. So something had to have happened prior to, which made me start to think, well, when did she decide she probably didn't want to be there? Well, only she can answer that.
Wow.
So we can speculate. And it's not a judgment, but it's really about taking the time about how to prevent something like this from happening to our kids and the younger generation coming up. So if you look at the history, we know the history of gymnastics, we know the physical stress on the body, but the emotional stress and the toll of the abuse within the sport. I said, okay, well, she had done a fabulous job of being in the front and center and dealing with that. How much she dealt with it, we don't know. It's her issues to deal with. And then you think about after the 2016 Olympics, was there a part of her that wanted to retire at that time? Maybe. And maybe she wanted to, but didn't know how to say it and felt obligated to compete one more time and be the face of the sport and take it to new levels of being the GOAT.
Well, let's
and
talk.
Then whenever, yeah.
Let's talk about the easy stuff. I'm just going to play devil's advocate, because I'm Team Simone all the way. I support her decision, but I'm processing at my age.
Yes.
Because I'm from a different generation. Why? And I'm playing devil's advocate here. And there are I'm probably speaking for somebody in the audience that may be thinking this way.
Yes.
Why not just not do it in the first place? I mean, here's what some people I've heard on our feed. Well, dang, like you said, my kids are watching this. Now we're teaching them how to quit. How can they just walk off and you're the leader? Things of that nature. I mean, what do you say to that?
Well, what I say is, I think it got to the point where the conflict that she has been fighting in her head is really about her head and her heart. Okay. Her heart probably wanted to retire. Could have been last month. It could have been a year ago when everything was canceled to begin with. And it could have been, after the last Olympics. Her heart wanted to quit. Her head said, no, you need to stay. And this battle has been going on, head in the heart, obligations, demands. And something in that moment, I don't know what's in her mind. She would have to answer it. But something cracked. Something happened that in her mind was no longer going to be able to live up to the expectations of what she, in her head, had commanded and decided and expected her to do and be. And she stopped. Now, quitting, I don't use the word quit because that goes to a mental state of what she did. And I can't say that's factual, but we can say that she stopped competing. That's factual. So, and I don't know what's in the mind of a 24-year-old because I'm twice that age. And I grew up in a time where you don't quit. You don't have that opportunity, don't have the option. And And I suspect that there was so much that it just finally stopped. Like her body was just, the mind has a way of controlling the body, where I believe that physically she probably was going to be in danger because her mind was no longer going to let her continue. Something in there snapped, something in there broke. And it's the same conversation of we can have when there are school shootings, we can have when people commit suicide, we can have it when anybody goes over the limit of what we consider normal behavior and expectations. It's the same conversation. The head and the heart has been conflicted for a long enough time, and finally the heart won and said, I'm done, I'm not doing this. Because so she fumbled on the vault. Okay, you have to go dig deep inside your heart to have the desire to say, I'm going to fight back and finish second or third or not on the podium at all. But her heart said, I am not going to let you do it. We're done. We are done fighting. We are done. And something in there, her body and her mind said stop.
And fast forwarding real quick, and then I'll go back. She did speak very clearly as to what happened, and it makes sense once she explained it all. And I'm glad she had a chance to do that. So
yes.
I just want to go back towards the mentality. You mentioned something that was pretty interesting. You're an athlete. I was an athlete. Have you ever been, because I have, in a situation where you told yourself not to do it, but the drive in you, or maybe a rhythm of your coach's speech or something told you to go through it, and you said, man, I shouldn't have did it, but you know what, I can't because I'm holding this responsibility of leadership. Have you ever had that?
No, but I have to, not in sport where I felt like I had to continue, even if I wanted to stop. So there's two sides and there's lots of stuff in the middle because, I was a police officer for a hot minute, more like a hot second. And I remember there was a time where I had to make a decision when I remember being in the shooting range and having to qualify, and I did, and with my firearm and going through field training, there was a moment where I realized I would not be able to use it. And it hit me like, oh my gosh, I'm going to put my life and somebody else's life in jeopardy. I need to leave. I can't do this.
Well, let me ask you this, doctor. You didn't feel the pressure of like, man, there's not a lot of women on the department. I'm holding the reins for them. They're standing on my shoulders. Did you feel that too?
Not from them, but I felt it from my mom, who was absolutely, we were at the time, not broke. And my mom was depending on that income for survival and depending on me to be that person. And I'm the only, in the family to provide. So yeah, I felt pressure from her and I felt her disappointment. And I felt, my mom's disappointment came in the form of silence. So I got the silent treatment. And one day she probably understood in her heart. And I think in some way she was relieved. But in the time, the obligation of financial providing for her and for myself and supporting us was very real. And I ended up just working back in the restaurants until I decided I had the desire to go back to school to finish my chiropractic degree. So it was, I had to face that, but I knew in my heart I couldn't continue working in that field. And so that's the part of me that says, I totally understand where she's at. And then the flip side of me says, however, I have a lot of friends who still work in departments and friends who are in the military and who would never even consider the idea of being in battle and leaving in the middle and leaving their team. And so I think this is one of those moments where there is no right side, wrong side, or one side. It's all of it. And it's being able to accept there are multiple layers and both sides are right and both sides are valid and both sides have some pros and cons. And for us to accept all of it at the same time, which most human beings don't like that space. They don't want to be in a space where it's unknown, it's uncertain, it's gray, it's uncomfortable.
Wow.
And that's the mental health issue that is driving so much of where we are today, is that space of the unknown. There's no solid rules. There's no solid black and white plan. It's very multi-dimensional, multifaceted, and all of it is in there all at the same time.
You know, what's funny, I would consider Simone like either a millennial or that Generation Z. And there's a part of me that was like disappointed, but there was also a part of me that was jealous of them. Because like you said, you just couldn't, in the police thing you walked away. In sports, it was hard for you to walk away. There were moments in sports for me where I fought in a jiu-jitsu tournament with a busted knee. And I got the gold, but when I look back at I'm almost 50 now, was it really worth it? I remember walking to the one boxing match that I lost. I did not want to fight. And my nerves were shot, and I knew somewhere in the back of my mind, in my conscious, or just hungry or something, I knew I was going to lose, but something told me, do not finish this. You're going to lose, yeah, CJ, but finish it. And because I was holding my team, my unit on my back, my wife was in the stands, and I just felt all the cheers, and I felt that pressure. You know, believe it or not, and I think you know, Eva, it took me a long time holding that pressure to get over that mentally. Years. Not the fact that I competed and competed well. It was a rough fight, but it was the fact that I felt like I let so many people down. And in hearing Simone Biles' press conferences, that really cleaned it all up. It really was about her health. What do you think about that, babe?
Well, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, I love watching the Olympics, so I was watching it, and I do remember Simone Biles expressing that, this was the first Olympics or competition that she would not have her family there with her supporting her, and that had always been the case before. So we're looking, as it, she doesn't have her family or supporters, so as many other athletes did not. Now they're in, of course, Tokyo, which is a different place, of course. They have to get used to that. And we're still in the middle of a pandemic. So that's a whole nother issue and another stressor to layer on. Now, I didn't actually watch the competition, but I saw the replay when they replayed her last event, and she was doing her routine. And I was looking at her eyes, and you can see where she kind of looked like she was a little dizzy or got lost in the middle. And I was like, whoa, something's wrong. And then sure enough, later on that day, she'd announced that she pulled out of the competition. So from my point of view, I see that it was kind of something in the moment. She just knew that it was risky for her, and she didn't want to take that risk and possibly be injured, paralyzed. And she kind of took the highway road out to allow her team to still compete without herself jeopardizing their success.
And that's the part of me that part of me, doctor, that I'm envious of. She was able to, she recognized it and walked away. She said she had been seeing her coach or sports psychologist daily after looking at the press conference, because she had this problem. And many athletes do go through this. Some I think in baseball and soccer they call it the yips,
Yes.
or where you have this little mental glitch. And she was maybe could be perceived as heroic for recognizing, preserving herself, just stopping and leaving. And this is the envy that I have for millennials. What do you think about that?
Well, and this is where we're going to go, because you said the very word that is what I feel is kind of at the heart of this is, I don't think it was heroic. I'm not going to give her applause, because part of me feels like I don't want to applaud somebody who pushes to the edge of absolute breakdown, and then to applaud and say, hey, good for you for pushing to the point where you have to stop competing in the middle of the competition. One of the things I truly believe is that our intuition and our gut feeling is always accurate, it's always wrong, it's always on, and it's always telling us. And I suspect she had some doubts prior to the competition, and either didn't know what to say or how to say it or what to do, and tried to push or do it anyways and override it. So part of the challenge, I think all of us as human beings watching, is it's so filled with all of the human everything drama. But I don't want to applaud it. There's no blame. Like, I'm not blaming. I'm not mad at her. I don't have any judgment, but I don't want to applaud it, because what that says to me is we're applauding somebody having a complete breakdown in current time. We're watching it, and applauding it. And those two things to me are, I can't, I'm not okay with that.
This
But
is
I can support, very much support, but not applaud.
well, doctor. This is where I'm with you. Like I remember, I said it's a part of me. I'm in this
Yeah.
processing stage. There's a part of me that even I look to her as, man, I want my daughters to watch her tenacity. There is that side of me, and I'm saying it's generational, not judgmental. There's a difference, and I know you guys are following on Facebook. You need to hear my opinions can be very hard sometimes, but I'm admitting that I'm struggling because there is that other side. Is we don't get it. We don't need a cookie for that. Remember, this is the Olympics. These are like Olympians, and they train all their lives for it. So maybe heroic was maybe too strong. I don't know. I think it's in the realm of mental health, yes, but in the realm of stopping, I don't know. I'm going to leave that part. I'm split. I'm not judging, but I'm split.
Good.
Am I fair to feel that way?
What? Yeah, and I'm glad you're feeling that way, and I'm glad you're bringing it up that way, because that's the point. The point is there are so many times in human daily life that we do feel conflicted and we do feel split, and we have to be able to reconcile that both of our sides and our feelings are right and they're both valuable and accurate, and we just have to be able to live in this space of having both sides be true. And humans don't like that. Like, your struggle means I have to figure out which side is right and which side is wrong. What I'm saying is part of mental health means accepting both sides are both right and wrong. And you can fluctuate every hour or every minute or every day. From one moment you're like, hey, I'm not okay with it. It seems like she quit. And then the next minute you're like, I'm totally supportive and it's okay. And then the next minute you go, but I don't like it. She quit. And then the next moment, that's the part of the whole point of mental health. And what this means is you not only can you not pick sides, that you shouldn't pick sides, and you can't try to reconcile both sides. Let both sides exist simultaneously and be completely opposing one another, and that they both are real and valid, and allow yourself to feel both and float and fluctuate between both. That's the point of how it works. Not just for her, but for her, that she's like the great example of what's happening with all of it, with all of this COVID and everything, is both being able to feel all the feelings without judging them, without picking sides, without trying to decide which feeling is right and which one's wrong. All of them are valid.
This also plays into the tennis player, and I don't want to get her name wrong, that didn't want to do a press conference because she said she was dealing with. I know. Yeah. I want to say that I didn't like that because there's a part of me that was like, no way, you're an athlete. This is what you get paid to do. There's a part, and there's other players that have done that, but that was the most recent. Yeah. But there's still the other side of me. It's like, well, if that were my daughter up there having a breakdown, what would I do as a father? I'd run up. I don't know. I don't know if I'd run up and speak for her or pull her off the stage. I don't know.
And this is what's so beautiful is I think part of what all of us are feeling watching the Olympics was the culmination of all the previous athletes before. So you watch the tennis player, and I think kind of most of us in our gut watched our tennis player and kind of like, well, yes, there's probably some mental health stuff. And then part of us were like, but let's stop with the BS. If you just didn't like the questions and decided you're going to pull out because they were being mean for asking questions, like, that's your job. Like, too bad. You're not going to die having to sit there listening and answering questions you don't like. And then there, and so I think there's been such a culmination of behavior among athletes that I think all of us have been feeling. There's some tension and feeling it. I think the Olympics just happen to be the culmination of what we've been feeling and watching. Whether people can acknowledge that or even see it, is I think we all felt so much coming to the surface of just what we've been feeling for a year and a half.
Wow.
And we don't know what to do with all of these feelings. So the first thing that we see that makes us upset, it gives us a way to lash out. And that's part of mental health, is we lash out, and whether it's in anger or violence, because we don't know what to do with all of the uncomfortable feelings. So everything that's been brewing for a year and a half, and people not knowing how to handle it and what to handle with all these really difficult fluctuating emotions, and then lashing out. So I think with the Simone Biles, it was an easy way to lash out, and not because it was because of her, it was at her because she just happened to be the one in the moment,
Right.
that it was the easy scapegoat.
Well, let me just repeat. I am Team Simone's.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Our family is like 100% behind. We're concerned, but the conversation, we're having it, So I just want to put that out there. This is definitely not a put down, but this is worth talking about. I'm lashing out. That's why I started a talk show, because I needed to lash out at some things. Eva, what we got on Facebook?
All right, so we have on Facebook from Adelaide Alexander. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. What do you guys think of NBA teams that tank intentionally, losing to get a more advantageous draft pick? Or players like Anthony Davis and Kyrie who refuse to play for teams that are not good enough for them?
You know what? I'll answer first and I'll give it to Doc, because this is a good one.
I love it.
I feel, in a sense, the same way as the mental health issue with Simone Biles. I am proud that these athletes feeling themselves. They don't have to buck to the man per se. There's a part of me that appreciates that. But there's also this thing of that walking away thing that's driving me crazy. I don't want my kids or anybody, my nephews and nieces feeling like they can just walk away when the stuff gets tough or you don't agree with it. I think of Jesse Owens, who had Hitler on his back. I mean, come on, that's a fair argument. He was the only brother out there killing it out there in Germany, and anything could have happened to him. I think of the people of our civil rights area. I think of my parents they loved the pressure of having the world on our back. Think about myself. Whether you like it or not, I love holding the pressure of that. So that is an incredible observation, sir. That is incredible. What do you think about that, Dr. Nelson?
I love it. And that just goes to the point that I made before of it's the culmination of how all of these athletes have been behaving and acting all the way leading up to this. One of the things that I see, there's a part of me that feels really hopeful, like with these athletes and the youth today who are so open about their feelings and what they feel. However, they're neglecting to do the work that says feeling your feelings is important. You can't just act it out. You don't just get to act out your feelings. So to me, watching these NBA athletes, some of them just kind of quit on their teams and leave, is the exact same as somebody who's acting out violently or passive aggressive or picking on and bullying. It's all the same. They're acting out because they haven't dealt with the feelings that they're feeling.
I totally believe.
They gotten the first step of feel the feelings. Great. Now you got to deal with them and not let yourself be driven and all of your actions taken out because of your feelings. No, you got to handle the feelings. You got to deal with them in personal time and deal with it.
We're not taking any commercials. We'll probably have time for one at the end because this is good. This is really healthy for me. You're helping me, Doc. I think that I still believe. Now, this is where I can't run from. I think no matter what you do, whether I'm serving a badge or I got my CJ T-shirt, that there's a professional responsibility owed to the people I'm serving, to my patrons. When I'm walking out there advertising, you hear CJ's Functional Fitness, and they see me out on the street, I do feel like I'm holding a decorum, And yeah, if I'm feeling down, I can go ahead and hide, and sometimes I express myself. But I do feel, like you said with these athletes, I feel like there's a professional responsibility, not just to your feelings, but there's a professional responsibility to the people watching you because they idolize you. That's the side, the cloth that I come from. Every step I take, people are watching me. And I don't care how they feel, but on the inspiring side, if I can inspire them, then there's a certain decorum that I have to consider myself. If I'm going to wear the leader and say I'm the leader and do all these advertisements and shoe commercials, there's also comes some level, even in politics, some level of personal responsibility. Even I see one more comment. Is there another comment on there?
There's another comment, Anatole Batiste, just basically summing up that, having your daughter or kids in sports, and it's a lot of stress on them. So, Dr. Nelson, I want to pose this question to you, or just even CJ. So, knowing that, mental emotional health is really important, do you see any solution, or do you have or propose any ideas to how we can approach a better or more improved mental health for athletes?
Well,
just overall?
before we do that, that's a hell of a question. I don't want to tie it all together towards the end.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I want to switch gears a little bit, and thank you, Simone Biles, 32 medals. You are like a historian. We appreciate you, man. God bless you. Just keep doing what you're doing, and hope you come back strong as an athlete or as a coach. But, you mentioned something, Doctor, about the season, the pandemic, COVID, and real quick, I don't want to forget this. I talked earlier about a friend of mine who passed away, and then also some officers one was killed during the Capitol riots, 2 committed suicide due to now these guys, again, it's the same. Oh man, I just blew my own mind. It's the same formula. These guys went out and performed, and their level of performance was protecting and serving. And then days later, or months later, we're in August, and we had some officers take their lives, I believe it's been said already, from the pressures or from the post-traumatic syndrome of that. I don't understand. Here's what I don't understand suicide. I never say never, but I never saw myself taking myself out. Similar. They were in a performance mode, not at Olympic level, but this is the real reality out here protecting people that allegedly loved and hated them in the end, and then are dealing with politicians shitting on them. I'm sorry, babe. That's how I feel. It's getting there. Claiming that they loved them in the beginning. Same stress, same mental health issues. What do you think?
The difference of the profession is that going in from the beginning that it's going to be challenging, and that there's half the people are going to hate you and half are going to love you. That's from the start. That in your profession. One of the things that I think about not just the January 6th officers, but all of last year's officers.
Yes.
And long before that, but especially highlighted last year. Everybody has a breaking point, and it's up to each individual person to recognize when we're not doing well emotionally. By the time we get to the place where everything's falling apart, it's been falling apart for some time. And it just takes one thing to push it over the edge. And we never know what that thing is, with whom, or at what time. It's any time. And there's so much about, I spoke of like the military and who wouldn't leave, and the officers who will stay. And there's something about that where that's what makes the human element. You look with awe, like AWE, awe, like you're in awe of people who can be in that space, and you realize that they have done some kind of emotional work, whether they've consciously done it or they've had help and support, so that when they were in that position, they already had something very solid and a foundation that is keeping them very grounded and on the risk of offending people, and that's okay. When you have a strength, whether you want to call it God or spirit or universe or whatever, something that is bigger, that grounds you as to why you're here as a human being, what your purpose is. When you're grounded with that, it gives you, doesn't mean you're infallible or impenetrable or you're not going to have days, but you have something that you can count on that will help give you strength. And when it's like staying healthy. A diet isn't, one day and 1 week I'm going to eat everything well and work out perfectly. No, it's a habit. It's something you do every day. Eat well, exercise, handle things about your health, physical health, every day. Every day you're committed to doing those little things so that when something happens, your body has as much of the opportunity and the chance to fight it off.
I'm going to be very honest.
Same thing. Yeah.
I want to be very honest, because I'm speaking for my law enforcement family, and I'm speaking for those that also fall into who gave their lives due to this COVID-19. First of all, I did mention we were shitted on during the DC riots, but we were also shitted on during the Floyd riots.
Yeah.
And I dare you to challenge me on that. There were rioters out there. There were people that were out there hurting officers just as much. I am angry at you freaking Republicans for what I've seen you do in DC. I am literally angry nationwide at these Democrats that, it's funny, they were crapping on us, wouldn't even mention our names out there when we were out there doing George Floyd, and we were pleading, it's not us, we're not Minnesota, pleading with them to let us do our jobs, and we got screwed. Matter of fact, they didn't even say put our names in the first responder list when it came to the thank yous. And we were out there. It hurt. Mentally, I was CJ was going through it, and then I had to go home and hear it from family radio personalities that I call sisters and brothers. It drove me nuts. Yeah. Shame on you guys. I feel like I'm getting it out now because I'm for real. I'll never be on anybody's pundit show because I don't satisfy neither one of your narratives. There's nowhere I can go. So I'm just going to start my own stuff. All of you guys have to atone some way, somehow. I don't care if it's with a vote. I don't care if you guys step down. What happened was a tragedy. And then at the same time, some of those same so-called Democrats were sitting up there saying, oh, thank you for your service, when it benefited their interest in Washington. And then somebody's saying, as long as that other guy, I won't even mention his name, was in office, oh, we love the police. But it turned that day. My officers, I'm telling you guys right now, you're hearing the term resiliency, right? Get your resiliency on right now. If you don't know it by now, we got each other, and there is a public, and I've talked to Dr. Nelson about this, there are plenty of people that respect what the common officer is doing. And I just want to make sure that is said. I want to make sure that is spread out, and I'm not changing my opinion. All of you failed us, and my vote is going to speak. These recalls are for real. We're calling y'all asses, for real. Yeah. So, Dr. Nelson, I just had to get that out. Whew, I feel better already. My resiliency.
Well, that's why I'm here. I'm your safe space to talk to and let it out.
My next question is with all that, our public, our community, our public, just our regular people, dealing with even the rightful anger of what happened and the expression and this, that, and the other that express themselves the right way, and COVID on top of that, people dying left and right, family members dying. I had a brother almost died. He spoke publicly about that. We are hurting. You mentioned something about just being able to lash out. It's almost, remember when we were on the show 6 months ago, it's almost like there was nowhere we can go. And then things seem to be getting better. And now we're here again due to conspiracy logic. Tie all this in together to stress. And why is it all about mental health here? Please.
Yeah. Well, one of the first things that when I teach my courses and when I'm working one-on-one is I'm a big believer in accurate words and using words that fit properly and using language that is not just fact-based, but defining it. And so much of what we're feeling, there's the facts of what's happening, and you can apply this to anything, whether it's just anything. You can apply, there's facts that are creating a problem. And then there's language and creating fear and inconsistencies and lack of integrity and the lack of truth. And when you put all of that together, it's very combustible. So what's happening is when you have the lack of integrity and the lack of truth, people are left to figure things out on their own. And they're going to do the best they can with what they have, with who they're surrounded with their beliefs, with everything. It doesn't, nobody is other than the higher ups, the leadership, politicians, because they're the ones that have been creating the mess of dishonest and lack of integrity. Wow. And when you have that, everybody's going to feel left to survive on their own, which is where we're at. Everyone feels like they have to do what they can to survive.
Well, I want to talk about where it's our fault on the ground, as a people. I'm hearing so many conspiracy theories about COVID-19. One, I don't want to say, no, I'm gonna be nice because the person sent the post to me in kindness. Sent to me saying that, oh, you take the shot, it's gonna change your DNA and you're gonna die. And he had this whack job of a doctor putting these facts out and checks and balances. And I'm like, I'm looking at this video and I'm like, the first question I had, there's been vaccines since you've been born, Doc. You've been born. They all work the same way. And guess what? If your DNA changes, guys, you're going to die. So that is just false right there. Eva, I know you have a little fact sheet of like some excuses people make. Can you dispel some of those rumors?
Well, I have a fact sheet. This is from the LA County COVID-19
Listen, people.
.gov facts. Fact number one, COVID-19 is spreading. It's still spreading. It hasn't went away just because everything is opened up. It's still spreading.
That's real.
So we still have to take precautions.
backing
That's
you up,
fact
babe.
number one.
I'm backing you up.
Fact number two, the most important metric is the number of new patients requiring hospitalization every day. So when we're looking at the facts and how bad it is, look at the hospitalization rates. They are steadily increasing. Why are they steadily increasing? Because those people who are not vaccinated are the ones who are suffering the most and being hospitalized. That's something to think about. Fact number three, reopening does not mean the spread of COVID-19 is under control. So because they said you can go out and things are opened up, a lot of people think everything's okay. We still have to take precautions, still wear a mask, still wash hands, sanitize, etc. Just because you can go to the movies and hang out and get gathered together doesn't mean that this virus has disappeared. It's still here. Fact number three, COVID-19 is not the flu. It's much more devastating than that, as well as the Delta variant is even more intense. And I've also heard of the Lambda variant that's even worse than that.
Can I say something? I have two clients who are doctors that were telling me about the Lambda the virus.
Variant. Mm-hmm.
Delta is no joke. People are dropping faster, okay? And listen, and the biggest myth real quick is no one ever said that if you get vaccinated, you would not get the virus. I never heard anybody say that. What it does is, should we get it now that we're vaccinated, our symptoms will be less. Even Lindsey freaking Graham admitted, who was one of those idiots back in the day, admitted that he's glad he took it this time because it saved him from worse symptoms. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I got to get this off my chest. We got to get these lies off our chest because you know what I want? I'm not judging, I'm not ordering. I need us to get on board and start really considering your options of getting vaccinated so we can get rid of this thing, okay? I mean, it helps, okay? I need you all well. It's coming from a place of love. I'm sorry. Are there any more facts, baby?
One last fact.
Doc, we're going to crash this into you right now because this is stressing me out.
And fact number five, masks and other basic public health practices make a big difference in stopping the spread. So let's just take a look back on why everything started to open up. Well, because the numbers went down. Why did the numbers go down? Because we were under a mask mandate where everyone was wearing their mask.
Facts.
As soon as everyone took their mask off, guess what? The virus started spreading again because it's not under control, and we have a lot of unvaccinated people where those are the people who are being hospitalized once they get the virus.
All love, people. For those of you that are traveling, I see these videos of you guys gathering. I don't care if you're black at a barbecue. I don't care if you're white at a beach. My goodness, you are human. You are not gods. You can get sick. And when I look at that, and these people come back and I just went to such and such, I'm like, my God, come on. I need you guys to start. It's stressing me out because now we're seeing death. We've seen lots of death, whether it be visually, whether it be friends passing away. And Doc, how do you walk us, first of all, into common sense from a place where you're at, and then out of this stress in totality? What are some of the some tools that we can use to work our way through all this stress?
So, a lot going on here.
Yes.
One of the things that, to be angry about is the lack of honest information from the very get-go. So if you want to be mad, when people are mad and you think about vaccine hesitancy, go to the politicians who last year said, well, I wouldn't take it if it came around because Trump did it. And I've heard it. I've heard, our president-elect and vice president say that very thing because of the hatred of Trump. Okay, well then you can't be mad when there's people that are questioning and hesitant when they politically chose to be on two different sides and use and out of their political views. Like, so lack of information and clear information and honesty from the get-go has creates the reason conspiracy theories exist is because information is being withheld and secretive. And I'm not saying that conspiracy theories are right. I'm just saying they exist because if there were no holes to fill in the gaps of information, then people wouldn't be making things up to fill it in. That's how the human mind works. It just makes up stories, right or wrong. That's just part of how the mind works. So part of now where we're at is realizing, I think we're in this place where the anger that you feel, and I think so many people feel, is we always knew government was corrupt, leadership was corrupt.
On both sides.
Politicians could be bought. But when you're seeing the level of the lack of consequences, when the lack of responsibility at high levels, and it just, now it's not even like pretending to be secretive and withheld and, you know, deceitful. It's just flat out, here it is. And what it does is human beings start to feel like, well, if you can't trust the people who are in charge of making decisions, then we're going to make them ourselves in the best way we can.
But
that is human nature. And part of the mental health is saying, you know, you can only deal with your emotions, and you can't make people do what you want them to do in order to feel better yourself. You're responsible for your feelings and dealing with your feelings. You can't make other people change in order for you to feel better. And that's across the board, everybody, both sides, no matter what. That's how mental health works. You can't make people act differently to make you feel better.
And I think you just, and that's why I love you, doctor, you gave us the answer. You can't make people feel the way you want to feel. Only we can get as informed as we can and, you know, say a prayer if we have to, but we got to step on this side of things. But it's just as you said, you know, the last leader was so casual and nonchalant about it. We had almost 500,000 dead. You know, I mean, and that's a responsibility thing. I'm not saying that's direct, but when you're the leader, there's a certain, we got to let our doctors talk. So it's a double-edged sword on, and I hear you on both sides. This, and Eva was telling me, she doesn't, we talked about the CDC. Listen, yes. I don't 100% trust the CDC or LA. I don't 100%, but I do trust when facts are presented to me. You know, is that fair? Did I describe that right?
Yes. I think what we discussed was that, some of the facts at the beginning, and then they changed, and then they, you know, said one thing, and then they said, no, it's this. So, you know, I come from a science background, so I kind of can sort through all of that stuff. But you just have to, you know, sort out the facts, look for the truth, and do your very best to be safe. I want to say common sense, but common sense is not really common.
Well, Let me get this out. Let me get this out really quick. I'm gonna get this out really quick, doctor, and I want to let you close out because I know you got something good to close out with. It's coming, guys. Listen, I always forget. I know when Cash App or Venmo, if you like this show, $CJ Functional Cash App. I appreciate it. It shows that you love the show, you love the content. Venmo at CJ Functional. I always forget that. Cider lets me remember. Thank you for that. So we only got like 2 minutes. Eva, give me a quick 30 seconds of what you want to say, and then Doc, I want you to close out.
30 seconds. This is communication from Miss Batiste Ebony, talking about that there is a vaccination clinic in Paramount tomorrow.
Listen up, y'all.
Paramount Library. The address is 16254 Colorado Avenue from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. To get vaccinated, 12 and over, and they are giving away gift cards if you show up, $100 gift cards. That's the message from Ebony, from Tony Thurman, Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you. And you know what? And I don't care how they do it, raffle, whatever. It might not be the coolest thing, you know, maybe almost shameful to a degree, but whatever it takes, that's how I feel. You guys do what you want to do. I did it. I'm relieved. I want you to do it because I love y'all and I want y'all to live and I want to get back out and hug y'all. All right. I'm tired of this. Dr. Nelson, I'm giving you the floor. 2 minutes. Close us out. Mental health, man.
Okay.
You helped me out
Mental
quite a
health.
bit.
So one of the most important lessons I learned from my instructors was how you deal with the issue is the issue. No matter what is going on, your reaction, your feelings, how you respond to the issue is the issue. It's not about the issue that you think you're supposed to change or deal with. It's you and your emotions of dealing with them, facing them, feeling them, understanding them. Because ultimately, mental health comes down to, are you going to react to every situation and scenario that comes up, or are you going to respond? The only way to respond is to actually take the time to understand what's happening. So you have to understand what's happening situationally with the facts, and you have to understand what's happening emotionally with you. And then you put that together, you put your thoughts, you put your heart, you put your mind, you put the information, and you come from a place to be able to respond to what the actual situation is, not just react to whatever is going on in the current moment.
Man, doctor.
And that's where I feel that we, as people, miss the mark of recognizing what we're supposed to be doing. We are supposed to be dealing with our own interpretation of what we think is happening and how to respond appropriately and accurately to what is really happening, not what we think, what we see happening on the surface. It's never about what's happening on the surface. There's always something below.
Man, Dr. Nelson, www.adancingzebra.com. Man, you are the truth. I love you so much for coming on. We were triggered, so we had to do this again, and I'll be seeing you in a few weeks. There might be like a part 3 because I'm not done. I'm still mad, Dr. Nelson. Hey,
you
ladies,
can be mad. It's
yeah.
okay, because you're not, as long as you're not reacting and doing crazy things from it.
Nothing crazy. I'm just expressing myself. Doctor, I love you. I want to thank you. I want to say to my wife.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson.
I want to say to my
Love you
wife.
guys. I love you both.
Thank you. You brought the army fatigues. I just had to get some karate chops in.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mentorship Moments. Each one, teach one. See you in 2 weeks. We are the village.
Bye, CJ. Bye, Eva.
Bye.
God bless you. Mwah.
Bye.
I tried to be secular about this book, but I can't. Something's working within me.
DJ was already an incredible person, and then he wrote a book.
I turned to God as a person that stopped believing. So you will meet me there, and if not, you will see the works that help me get there.
If you want to know how to change and learn how to change from the inside out, you read this book.
Money is a real thing. It's a part of it. But what I show in the book, and I'm telling my young people out there, I'm walking you through business. This is a real business lecture 101. It's not the green that's going to keep you sustained. It's your influence. How well do you impart influence and love in people? How do I make you rich by a conversation we've had?
It's going to help you no matter what situation, no matter what trials or tribulations you're going through. It's going to give you that ammo that you need.
Watch God grow inside of me. Watch him show me why this went wrong to get to right. To him to say, you know what, God? I needed the tragedy too. I needed to feel loss. I needed to feel grief. I needed to feel let down. And thank God you've got me where I'm at in my marriage, with my kids, with my family, so I can see the blessings and I can tell somebody else how all those things I went through in the past got me where I'm in today.
You can get through anything if you just keep the faith and walk through that valley and don't give up. Don't turn back, don't look back, just keep looking forward, and the goal is right there. You just have to keep pushing for it.
Keep your brains in your head, keep your heart in your chest, and keep your pee-pee in your pants. And that's it.
That's great advice.
This will stay in your hearts for the rest of your life, and it will conquer the demons that lie in your mind.